Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra. And
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you.
Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth. Welcome to another episode with more truth telling, more problem solving, and of course, more tea spilling than ever before. Sit back, students, grab your tea and turn up the volume because class is now in session. Call in at 936-2626 because your voice matters. Share your opinion on issues that matter the most to you.
Sandra all the time is here with the cold hard truth. She's the ears and the eyes for me and you. Every day, everyone want to hear from Sandra. And every time on the air, she's getting better. Tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your mama, call Sandra in the morning and in the evening. They always calling Sandra. And when they start fighting, they calling Sandra.
All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing this beautiful Friday morning? Look at that. Friday snuck up on me. Wow. All right. Hope everybody's doing fine. For some reason, I can't hear my own self this morning. Through the mic, through the headset, that is. It's a bit strange. All right. We'll see if we can figure that out. Otherwise, we always got another headset here that we can use. That one. Oh, there we go. Ta-da! I knew it was something. Some little button somewhere. There's like a little gremlin around here sometimes pressing buttons, I swear. Good morning, K-Man. How is everybody doing this beautiful Friday morning? Let's take a roll call. Just a second. We'll say good morning to a few folks. Good morning to everybody joining us on Instagram. Let me just check Facebook and see what's going on over there, because Facebook is so temperamental that we just never know. Ugh. So, thank you guys so much yesterday for the birthday greetings for Marlon. Very low key. You know, when you get to a certain age, you're perfectly happy just having one or two friends over and enjoying yourself. And that's exactly what he did. But he appreciated all of the birthday love. So thank you guys very, very much. And also a big thanks to the workmen who came by and made his birthday surprise possible. So we got everything done. And, you know, what I was doing is I was giving him something, but I didn't want him to have to set it up or install it fully himself. So I had the guys come and take that workload off of him as well, because, you know, he just works so hard already that I figured, let me not just give the gift, but organize the gift as well. So got all of that sorted. And so, yeah, it went off without a hit. So much so that, in fact, he walked in to the area where it was and didn't even notice it. So I guess that was good in a way. It was a real surprise. And, you know, happy birthday to everybody else who celebrated yesterday as well. Obviously, like we said yesterday, Bob Marley's birthday, he would have been 80 years old. So I was thinking about that. And I thought to myself, wow, Bob Marley would have still been alive, possibly, you know? I mean, people live way past 80 these days. So it's entirely possible that he could have been with us still. And do you ever think what his life and legacy would have been like had he lived to be a, you know, really old guy? The amount of music that him and the Wailers left behind, and the legacy that he left behind, I think, was just so incredibly amazing. It's almost like, do you ever get the sense that some people, they accomplish so much, they die young, but yet they accomplish so much, sometimes more than someone who has lived to be 80, that you kind of think, you know, maybe that's just what it was supposed to be for them. Because my goodness, what more could he have accomplished? So it's like they come like a blazing star, get it all done in a short space of time, and then that's it. Pretty wild. So yes, it's kind of shocking, but he left an amazing legacy behind and really put Jamaica, the country of Jamaica, on the map for being the reggae capital of the world. You know, one thing when people mention Jamaica, if you say, what do you think of? Have you ever heard of Jamaica before? You know, even if they really don't know anything about it, they're going to mention reggae music, Rastafarianism, and so on. So I think that he contributed significantly to those things as well, to getting, you know, the world exposed to those things. So it was very interesting. Right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for, a lot of you are messaging me this morning, so I do have to, of course, address this, what your messages are all about, but we'll get there in just a second. Irvelyn, Wee, Miss Mitzi, Alba, Shaka Zulu in the house. Happy Friday to Miss Jean, Abby, Juliet, Pat, Felicia, Strong Wilt the other day. Somebody was asking me who you are. And I said, I don't know. I'm like, I have no idea. You guys create these names. You don't have a profile photo. I don't know who it is. I don't know. And most times I don't even care who it is. It's only the rude people and the fake accounts that are so obviously fake that I go, who's this person? Strong Wilt obviously is trying to remain somewhat anonymous. So that's your right to do so. I ain't got no problems with that. It's just when they create the fake accounts just to come on here trolling certain people, especially for political reasons, that I'm like, where have you been? We've never seen you here before. We know our regulars. So Strong Will, good morning. KK in the house. Yes, I think I might talk about that. I don't know if it's the same person, but that's coming. Give me 1 second. Miss Lucille, good morning. Kathy Watson, beautiful Kathy, good morning to you, madam. A regular listener to the program. Enjoy playing dominoes with her the other day as well. Jim is also here. Thank you and good morning. Let me see here now. Good morning to Donna. Yes, Jim, he actually did. He was surprised by it for sure. I think I definitely surprised him this time. Sometimes it's hard to surprise him because he seems to know a lot of what's going on. So I do think we pulled off a genuine surprise this time. And he was very, very happy with it. So thank you so much for asking. Morning, Miss Donna. Scenic Route, good morning to you. Cayman Source, good morning to Cayman Kind. AJ, morning, morning, morning. He says, good morning, neighbors. Yes, sir. Diamond Princess. You know what I love about CMR is we have a bit of a community here. You know, we come here and we show up every morning, every weekday morning, and we kind of interact with each other and get to know each other probably a little bit more. You know, for example, I know Shaka is into IT at some level, very, very forward thinking in terms of that. And, you know, you get to see people's personalities. Some of you are more jokers than others. We know Johan loves his brownies. Listen, if you've never even tasted my brownies, you always have a question mark there in your mind. Thanks to Johan, because all of Cayman now knows about my brownies, you know, because Johan, but he was trying to use reverse psychology and always seeing how dried up my brownies were, but he still piqued your curiosity. You're like, I want to try those brownies. And sure enough, they are moist and gooey and delicious. And everybody's like, what's the secret ingredient? So, you know, it's just so much fun, I think, to have this camaraderie that we have with each other every single morning. Strong Will says Sandy Bob Marley also won the Grammy Award for 2025. Isn't that amazing? The man's dead for 44 years, because the irony of it is not only was Marlon born on his birthday, but he was born on his birthday the year he died. So Marlon is 44. Bob Marley has been dead for 44 years. So Marlon has never lived in a world where Bob Marley was physically walking this earth. But of course, he knows every single Bob Marley song, knows all about him. You know, having been born on his birthday, I suppose, was a great honor as well. And every time people say, oh, when's your birthday? February 6th, like, oh my God, all Jamaicans, oh, that's Bob Marley's birthday. So yeah, that's amazing that he won a Grammy. Yeah. Patricia, good morning. Good morning. Buenos dias to Kian Barantes. Luis, good morning to you. Marshall is here. Juliet, Aliano, good morning. Good morning. He says, Riff Raff Slumlord in the building. And then he says, just joking. Well, it might not be a joke, honey child. You need to get it together now. We don't want to put you in the naughty corner. Good morning to Dave, and thank you. I'm going to speak about that here in just a second, Mr. Dave. I know other people are also messaging me. Debit card found. Can you send us a name of the person? That's probably the best thing to do, of who that is. And by the way, oh shoot, I think I forgot to post one yesterday. Somebody found a wallet. Oh man, who was that? Yeah, I get so many messages. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to post this one. If your name is, what's the name? Nohemi Kelly. Your driver's license, it looks like your entire wallet actually has been found. Nohemi, Nohemi Kelly. Does anybody know Nohemi? I knew somebody sent me something yesterday I was supposed to action. Oh my gosh. Nohemi, give us a ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, please. All right, let me send this. See if Misha can post this on social for me. Because we did get it yesterday and I totally forgot. Oh my goodness. All right. So yes. And then there's another debit card. Boy, you guys can lose some stuff. Whoa. Anywho, thank you so much. Thank you, Lanny. Damaris is here. Johan is in the house. Johan, I heard that Pilar was baking you brownies last week since I couldn't. Hopefully they were just as good, if not better. Damaris, Damien, good morning. What Johan says, what? Don Marlin is Bob Ute? Oh, no. We're not gonna worry about that. Isaiah Pascal. Anybody know Isaiah? Please tell him his debit card has been found. All right, honey jam. So thank you guys this morning. I know a lot of you are sending me condolences. So last night I got the unfortunate news that one of my siblings passed away. And yeah, it's, of course, very sad. Uh-oh. I think they're gonna call back. And he's a legend. Speaking of music, he's kind of a legend, I think, in his own right. So a lot of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but Dave Rocket is my brother. We are half siblings. We have the same mother. And so unfortunately last night he did pass away. And I've been getting your condolence messages all morning. Thank you very much. We are totally, I was asking someone, I said, how old is he? Because we obviously would not have grown up together. So, my mother is, gosh, probably close to 90 now. And she's got children that run the spectrum. I am the youngest of her children. And so there's like an initial first set, which are the Rockets. And then there's us, 3 girls for Uric Solomon. And, I didn't grow up in a household really with any of them up to a point. I mean, I do remember my 2 full siblings before I left Cayman that obviously we were in the same household and we're relatively close in age. So my sister Susan is a couple years older than me. And then I believe Carmelie is a couple years older than her. So Susan being my closest sister in age I probably would have spent the most time with her. And of course, somebody else was in reform school in Jamaica. So the time was limited in any respects. And then I don't recall ever actually living in a household with the Rockets at all, like any of those siblings. Some of them, big shout out to Evelyn and this morning, and my condolences to them, because obviously this is their full brother and they would have had a much closer relationship with him. And all of his children. I wish, I want to extend my condolences to them as well. So thank you for your condolences. And I think that he was a legend from what I understand. Everybody is like, all you do is mention Rocket. And they're like, oh yeah, the sessions back in the day. Like he was legendary for having these, he was the party after the party kind of vibe. So, you went to whatever club or you went out. And then the real popping place was to go by Rockets. And, that's where things got lit. And he was known for that. And, known for, I don't know if he was a Rasta, he might've been, but I do think he was definitely known for, enjoying his spliff. So, so have a toast this morning. Raise your glasses, your coffee mugs and tea mugs to the one and only Dave Rocket. So, really sad this morning. Yeah. So Irvin said, oh my God, I knew him so well. I think a lot of people knew Dave, especially, back in the day. Like I said, he was a legend unto his own. So thank you very, very much, Miss Angeline and everybody else. Yeah, what are we gonna do? So sad. All right. Yeah. And of course, my mother, Miss Pam, this is her 3rd child now that she has lost. So I'm sure she is really besides herself. All right. Thank you. And yeah. So Lucy says, OMG, I'm so sorry. I know Dave very well. He was something else. Yes, he, like I said, he had a legendary reputation for sure. KK says, straight up Caymanian, real hardcore. Thank you, Wee Wee. Arnita says, Mr. Rocket, it was so nice. Sorry to hear, sending condolences. Thank you very, very much, guys. Irvin says, yes, his yard was the place for the after party. And I guess the police, they're probably having fond memories of how many times they had to show up there as well to say, turn the music down, no more sessions, Rocket. So there you go. I think everybody of a certain age probably, except me, because I wasn't here, at some point probably went to a session, one of Dave's sessions back in the day. So, okay. Yeah, so very, very sad day for the Rocket clan this morning. And it's one of those names that everybody who's a Rocket is obviously related in some way, shape, or form, because there's only one set of Rockets in Cayman. So, you know, the older ones are all of my half siblings. And I think a lot of you, some of you know this and some of you don't. But yes, they are. And they also, like all of their children and their children's children's would be nieces, grandnieces, and that sort of thing, nephews, and so on. So, yeah, all right. What to do? Shamika says, rest in peace, Rocket. Can't believe it. I know. Strong Will says those sessions were the best back in the day. Thank you very much, Shaka. Lavana, good morning to you. So, young people, a lot of you would probably, you may have heard of Rocket in his sessions, but you obviously, that was before your time. So, you know, yeah, I think we all have to go that way one day. So what to do? Yeah. All right. So good morning to everyone. We're going to talk about, and somebody says it's quite ironic that he passed on Bob Marley's birthday as well. So they said he was a rebel, but at the same time had a good heart. And yes, that's definitely what everybody says about him as well. Somebody says, I know the name for sure. He was popular for his sessions, although I never attended. May he rest in peace. Thank you guys so much. Okay. Let me see. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. We'll get to that later. All right. So we do have some guests in the studio. We're going to go ahead and welcome our guests to the program this morning. We are going to be talking with some members of the CPR group. So we're going to welcome Miss Shirley Wilson and Michelle this morning. Good morning, ladies. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you,
Michelle
Sandy.
Lockwood.
And we want to
yes,
say
we can hear you guys.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Morning, Sandy. We want to say a good morning. Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
We want to say a special good morning to all of your viewers here and abroad. And to we want to offer our condolences to you and all of the Rocket family on your loss that we just found out this morning. And we also want to let you know that every Caymanian is part of our family.
Yes.
And
no, absolutely.
On that same note, we would also like to offer our condolences to the Bodden family who lost one of us in the tourism industry this past week. Mm-hmm. Adam Bodden worked on the tenders for many, many years. He was an ambassador for these islands for millions of people. And we don't want to let his work and his contribution go unnoticed, and want his family to know that we are deeply sorry for their loss.
Yes, thank you so much for that. You know, on the one hand, Cayman is obviously growing as a, community. And yet the Cayman community is, obviously, we know we're outnumbered and we're still relatively small. I think we all feel it to some extent, as Shirley rightfully says, when one of our own passes, because you may not have known them personally, but you might know, their parents, their siblings, cousins, nieces, like somewhere down the line, we have this connectivity. And, I know at times we all get in our feelings and we fight, we carry on, sometimes like riffraff a little bit, but at our core, we are still such amazing people. And I think that if we can tap into that a bit more and really try to connect ourselves in a more meaningful way, which sometimes we're able to do that right here on this program. So, we have a lot of things going on this small rock of ours, all three rocks, and we may not share the same opinions on everything, but I hope that we can all try to do better in this year for sure and going forward with communicating and expressing how we feel about the issues that impact us in different ways. So Shirley and Michelle are here this morning to talk about the port. The referendum has just passed, so it's going to happen. And, CPR has played a very pivotal and key role in even bringing this issue front and center for a lot of us to be aware of and to think about and to know what some of the issues are surrounding it. So Shirley and Michelle, perhaps you could give us a little bit of information about the CPR group. I saw someone ironically yesterday, a Caymanian, saying that, well, CPR stands for Cruise Port Referendum. Yeah, Cruise Port Referendum. And so then they were like, they're confused, because doesn't that mean that you support it? And I was like, what? So maybe we have to step back a little bit and talk about this group and how this group was put together and, what you guys are up to even now.
Yeah, so CPR was formed in 2018. At the time, that was when an article had been published that all the businesses that were on Royal Watler Terminal, that they were terminating their contracts, and that was because they were going to start building a pier. So CPR kind of got together when that information came out. And it was formed from a group of, because the cruise berthing issue is quite an aged issue. Like, it's been going on for like 20 years. But in 2015, it kind of resurfaced with the then PPM government that said that they were going to build a pier. And then Save Cayman was formed, which was very much environmental focused. So in 2018, when this article came out, members of Save Cayman, as well as some other members of the community, came together and sort of said, hey, this is a much wider issue than the environment. Let's not limit it to the environment. So we didn't want to go under the heading of Save Cayman. We wanted to go under a different heading. And at the time, we decided that we were going to embark on trying to initiate the first People's Initiated referendum. So the choice was made to call ourselves Cruise Port Referendum in 2018. That was when we were collecting signatures, going out. And so that started in 2018. We officially got our the 25% of the then voting electorate to sign, and then submitted a petition on the 11th of June, 2019 to the elections office, which then subsequently went through a whole process of being verified through the elections office. And that was officially done in September 11th, 2019, which then started the People's Initiated referendum, which was, at the time, the question was, should the Cayman Islands develop cruise berthing facility and cargo facility? And at the time, the law, the referendum law for that question didn't have any campaign finance limits. It was set for the 19th of December, which meant that new voters weren't going to be able to vote in it. And so we, as a group, and actually more specifically Shirley, because Shirley was the named defendant on it, took the government to court because we felt that the referendum law at the time for the People's Initiated referendum was unfair, because it didn't allow those what we were asking for, which was campaign finance limits, making sure it was fair. Conflating the issue of cargo and the cruise pier was unfair because that wasn't in our petition. And so we took it to court, and we were granted leave to go to court, which then started in January 2020. On the initial sitting of it, we were successful. It then went to Court of Appeal, And they overturned some points of it, and which meant that the question has to remain as is, and that they didn't say that we had to have a standalone referendum law. So when I say standalone referendum law, I mean that there's a separate legislation legislating how referendums are governed, right? So the fact that, like, you know, you can't just make up things as you go for each one. There's something that governs it as a whole, so that everybody understands and knows, how does a government initiated referendum work? How does the people's initiated referendum work? Because we were very much in like untold territory. We were like in no man's land. Nobody had done it. Well, one man, one vote had tried to do it before, but it was never successfully put through.
Yeah, let me interject something. Our people initiated referendum here on this little rock in this little country was the first time a people initiated referendum had ever happened, not just in Cayman, but in the whole of the UK and all of the territories. So all of the territories were following us very, very carefully so that they could know how to do this, what to expect in their own countries. They followed us regularly. We got emails, WhatsApp messages, asking questions, and cheering us on because of the impact that our referendum could have in this country, and they wanted to know how to be able to do it in their own countries.
And I think that's important because even in terms of the legal challenge, you know, a lot of times I say to people, whether it's government or private sector, sometimes you've got to challenge the status quo, the legislation, the government in a court, so that you test the limits of what is there. Because just because something is codified, it's in law, doesn't mean that it's the right way that it should be done. The law could be outdated, antiquated, or there could even be some issues with the way that it was written. It can be, you know, ambiguous, for example, and nobody likes ambiguity in law. So the legal challenge was a necessary part of the process, in large part because, as you say, this was so novel in a way, right? Because no one had ever done it.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is too, is that, you know, a lot of people are like, oh no, they're just fighting this for the sake of fighting it. And it's like, no, we're very pro-democracy, right? And that was what CPR was founded on, right? So we wanted a people's initiated referendum, but we wanted it under in fair conditions, and we didn't feel that was what we got with the way that the law was written for us. And we have been demanding and asking every single time that we put a press release out. We always say that a standalone legislation for referendums was envisioned by the Constitutional Committee. And it's only fair because right now, people might be like, oh, well, you know, just let them be. We're funded on donations. We are not for profit. So everything that we're doing, we have to fundraise for, which is why it's been very difficult for us to come out any earlier, because, you know, we have limited time, we have limited resources, so we have to allocate things appropriately. But the other side right now probably has quite a deep pockets, right? But on the reverse, if there's another referendum in the future, it might be the other way around, and the government might not want to have, you know, a big, like, you know, Elon Musk type person to be, you know, putting his money into something and campaign.
Okay, you were breaking up just a little bit there. Sorry, Michelle. I think your internet. Yeah, my apologies. I think your internet connection kind of dipped there for a second. So just start over and repeat what you said from the point where you said it could be the other way.
Yeah, so with this referendum law, it could be the other way around, right? You might not necessarily, it might not be in your interest to have unlimited campaign financing on both sides, because you might have someone who has much deeper pockets than the government campaigning against the government. But if it's unfair for the government in that situation, and they would have campaign finance limits, then it should be the same for us now, that there should be campaign finance limits. There should be declared parties that are involved that can be allowed to advertise their side on this particular issue. As it currently stands, anybody can spend any money right now, like, you know, in a pro-peer sense. We have no idea who might be funding this or who might, you know, and so I think, you know, that kind of stuff we have to think about, because if it's fair now, then it should be fair for the next time, and it shouldn't be designed ad hoc each time there's a new issue. because otherwise you're always going to have that it's always swayed to the government.
Yeah.
And if you
So
really
it's,
want to
it's
take
just
the pulse of
really,
the people.
yeah, if I'm understanding you correctly, Michelle and Shirley, it's really all about ensuring that there is a proper process.
Yes.
And that every single time that proper process is followed. It would be the equivalent of trying to have an election where every election cycle, you didn't know what was going to happen because the law, wasn't there, or if it, whatever was there was so incredibly vague that you had no clue, how to proceed. And so I think that having a set procedure with anything that you do is extremely critical and important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we've been advocating for. And so that's why Cruzport referendum was started in 2019 and why we continued and took the challenge, the legal challenge. This time around, I wouldn't say we're not pro-referendum. I know that's a lot of things that we've been hearing people criticize us about. We've deliberately started just going by CPR Cayman. We didn't want to change our name because people already know us as CPR Cayman, but we're not, using the full title anymore. But we're not against this referendum. But the reason why we're questioning, what's the need for it now, is that we don't really feel that this particular referendum is going to get us to a result. Because
so let's talk about
if we no vote, I feel no vote will be non-binding.
I do think. Sorry, Michelle and Shirley. I do think that it's important for you to explain.
Which means that whoever the new government might be. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think there's a little bit of a delay for you on your end sometimes. But I was going to just say that I think it's important for you to explain to people, because they're saying, right, well, you triggered a referendum, or you thought you had, that never happened. So what is the difference between what you guys had done, getting the petition together and triggering the referendum in that way, versus what the government is now doing with their attempts to put forward a referendum? I think that's critical to explain the differences.
Yeah, so the one we did was a people's initiated referendum. So the requirement for that was that we had to get a petition, we had to have a question, we had to get 25% of the voting electorate to sign it. And that's what we did in 2019, which meant that the government was bound to hold a referendum. Because we didn't have any guidance, there was no guiding law, like I said, no standalone referendum legislation. There was no guidance of how quickly they had to put it in place. And as we said at the time, it meant that quite a lot of registered voters weren't able to vote because it was set for the 19th of December, and most of the people that registered to vote weren't here until 1st of January, 2020. So that's one thing. The other thing with a people's initiated referendum is that once the question was set and once it was to actually be voted on into the polls, it meant that for us to have a binding result, it required us to have 50% plus one person to vote no. And the other problem with it is that was of the total voting electorate. So that's not about how many people show up. So I think it's about our attendance on polling day is usually about 70%. So we were already at a disadvantage because 30% weren't going to, if we went with that logic, that 30% of people wouldn't be voting. So they would have counted as a yes vote, and which meant that the threshold was a lot higher for us to achieve in 2019 had it gone to referendum. The government initiated referendum is initiated by the government, and it's non-binding, which means the result is not the government that comes in after on May 1st won't have to listen to whatever this referendum says. And the other thing is that that's only 50% plus one person of who votes. So it's not the whole electorate. So it's a much easier threshold to win, but it's also non-binding. So it's very, very tricky, the democracy for this. And because you're already against the fact that, we only have 70% turnout for elections.
Right.
So
let me ask you, let me ask you a question, ladies. Was there ever, because of your legal challenge, what was the final outcome? Because you said that the Court of Appeal, they overturned certain aspects of it, but what did they actually say were valid points, and what did they overturn? So what was their judgment in summary?
Their judgment in summary was basically that the government wasn't, like, they understood our points, they understood why our frustration, but they basically said that it wasn't for the judiciary to sort of say, yes, the parliament has to enact a law. That's for them to sort of decide. And also they said that we had to stick with the question that had been drafted, which was, like I said, it was, should the Cayman Islands develop a cruise berthing facility and cargo port? And we were arguing that the cargo port was not on the petition. So it was an unfair addition because it kind of conflated two issues and sort of did a bit of like fear mongering, because people would be like, oh, well, we have to build this because we're not going to have cargo, and we need cargo because that's how that's our lifeline. So we felt that it kind of made an emotional issue even more emotional.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see.
We did apply for leave to go to the Privy Council, but we were denied it at the time because, and I don't know if we would be able to try and go back, but at the time, the then Premier Alden McLaughlin said that it was a dead issue. They weren't going to be doing a referendum regardless. Mm-hmm. And the proposal that was that the referendum was about was off the table. So I think when the Premier had said that, then the Privy Council was like, well, it's a non-issue now. Why are we going to court to legislate it? And I think personally, I wish they had let us go, mm-hmm. because I think that on the principle, this is a principle of how referendums mm-hmm. are going to be governed for the future. And I do feel that there's still some open-ended mm-hmm. aspects of it that could have been settled had we been able to go to Privy Court, but we weren't granted it.
And then COVID hit.
And then yeah, this was all in the midst of COVID. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we've got a couple questions and comments coming in, so let's have a look at some of those. So, by the way, how many people are still in your CPR group? Is it still the original, everybody who was in the original group, or
election the next year? Quite a lot.
Yeah, sorry, I think there's a little bit of a delay with their internet on their side, and they're freezing just a tad. All right, we'll give them a second to unfreeze.
Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, it's your internet, girl. I don't know who your ISP is, but maybe just try refreshing the page. Sometimes that helps. So yeah, at times you're actually freezing. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's ask the question while maybe they do a page refresh. So let me pull, I'm actually going to pull you, I'm going to kick you out of the studio so that you can, that'll force you to refresh. So let me just WhatsApp Shirley quickly. So just refresh the page, yeah. And close any other tabs or anything else that might be using the internet. Yeah, so sometimes if the internet is choppy, you'll get that kind of. All right, so Johan says, when will the elections office, governor's office, elected government, ACT, and pro-port stakeholders tell the public bill recently passed in Parliament is a non-binding referendum? So obviously, Johan is of the opinion that that has not been done by all of these various stakeholders. So that's interesting. Let's see if we can grab them back in again. All right. Hi, ladies. Yeah, the internet's a little bit choppy, so we'll work with it as much as we possibly can. But if you have anything else possibly using the internet, maybe turn those things off for the moment. You gotta have, it's the upload speed that matters with these streams. But okay, let's see, Michelle, if we can do it again. You still seem to be frozen for me. So okay, I think they're still frozen. If push comes to shove, we can, sometimes the phone connection is actually better.
We're here.
Yeah, you're just frozen on our end. So I was saying that there seems to be some lags in the connection for you. All right, let's maybe give them a second because I still see them as frozen. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. We'll try it again. Hopefully your internet will hold up. Yeah, there we go. The phone connection, believe it or not, is oftentimes better.
Okay.
So we have a comment here from Johan, which says, when will the elections office, governor's office, elected government, ACT, and pro-port stakeholders tell the public that the bill recently passed in Parliament is a non-binding referendum? So do you guys feel that the government has done a sufficient job in getting that message out there?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that, since this issue's come up, there's been lots of people telling us like, hey, didn't we vote on this? We voted on this. And that's why I wanted to explain everything that had happened at the beginning of the show, was because we haven't actually voted on it. We did initiate a referendum, but it didn't get through because, like I said, we took it for a legal challenge, and then COVID happened, and then, there was quite a lot of changes with the government. So it hasn't happened. But I do think that it needs to be, the government should be explaining very clearly that this is non-binding, which means that the next government that comes in on the 1st of May could completely disregard whatever the result of this referendum is. So that's why I'm saying we're not
whether it's yes or no, they
Yeah.
could disregard it. So
Yeah.
it's in the public's best interest to know that non-binding does not mean it's just non-binding for the no vote. It's not, it could be non-binding for the yes vote as well, depending on who goes into power after the election.
Very interesting. All right. Thank you, Mr. Shalat. Anthony says Cayman missed its golden opportunity with Royal Caribbean when it offered to be involved in the development of the port. They would have an invested interest, which would have guaranteed usage. Okay, I'm not sure guaranteed usage is a problem. Do we realize crews don't need Cayman? Cruise lines are purchasing their own islands now and developing them, which they will use, and won't need multiple island stops anymore. They can recreate every destination now, even our beloved Stingray City. Do you think if cruise tourism was so toxic? And then his message gets cut off. So basically his position is that we need the cruise ships and they don't need us. What has, I don't know if you guys have done any research. First of all, the Caribbean pulls the largest number of, for cruise lines. This is their destination that is profitable, that makes them money. This is where people want to come when it comes to cruises. People, they have Alaskan cruises and all sorts of other cruises, but the Caribbean is the golden goose, so to speak. And so I think it's so interesting that the Caribbean islands don't seem to understand perhaps the amount of power that they could have collectively and individually if they were really able to pool their resources and don't allow the big bad wolf to believe that they're the powerful ones.
Exactly. I think the key messaging that we want to make with this is that the cruise lines are a for-profit organization. They are publicly traded. They are beholden to their shareholders. They're not beholden to the Caymanian people. They're not beholden to us. So they are not in anything for the best interests of us or any Caribbean nation. Because look at what they've done in other jurisdictions. Like, there are other jurisdictions that are also not thriving in this current economy that have piers. So I don't think that even building piers is a guarantee that we're going to have it. I think we need to look at this the other way around and say just what you said, is that we are like, the Caribbean is their top destination. This is where everything is. We are the attraction. We get to decide what they get. Right?
Which means we need to have a tourism model that works for us.
Exactly.
We should not be thinking about what other people are doing, because we are not other countries. We are a unique little gem, and we should be capitalizing on what we have to offer instead of forfeiting, risking what we do have to try to get more when we might actually fail. And just this morning at 3:30 in the morning, I was looking at looking on the internet I found some very interesting information. The cruise line, some of them are offering cruises, 7-night cruises for $470 per person.
Wow.
Okay, that $470 for 7 nights on a cruise ship is less than what most hotels and condos in
For
Cayman
one
are
night.
per night.
Yeah.
Per night. So do you
Yeah.
really think that people that take advantage of those opportunities are going to come and spend tons of money in Cayman? No. And the problem that I've seen, because I've been in tourism all my life, is that we were never a country that had to bargain and barter with anybody that visited here. Never. Our stores back, way back, when I was still in school, I worked at a duty free store. And way back, every store offered value for money. And people didn't balk about spending the money on whatever was the whatever the offerings were at the time. Trinkets to crystal, watches, it didn't matter. They didn't balk. They bought, um and now for some reason we have become a country that is bartering even amongst ourselves, trying to get the biggest share of the pie from the cruise ships. And the cruise ships are trying to give us the smallest piece of the pie and take the majority. And that's where we are going wrong. We need to have a tourism model. We need to decide what we want. And we need to focus on making that happen in the most beautiful, economic, social. We have to offer value for money. We can demand the world if we are offering the value for the money. And I, for one, don't deal with the cruise ships. Number one, I'm not a big company. Number two, I'm not going to sell myself short. And I'll tell you why. 22 years ago, I went on a cruise with my sister and my mom and my niece. She was 2 years old. We were all going to get off in the Bahamas, but my sister and my niece got sick. So my mom stayed on the ship with them, which meant I was alone to try to do whatever. And I wasn't just going to jump off a ship in Nassau and roam around by myself. So I went to the desk, and they had shopping tours, they had, other excursions, but I found a mangrove tour. In Cayman, we have the largest mangrove wetland in the Caribbean. But I went on a mangrove tour. And it was because I was by myself, everybody else was pairs. I got to ride in the kayak with the guide. And they did the most amazing tour. I had paid $90 on the ship. And in talking to that man, him and his 2 other Bahamians, this was the beauty. I didn't get on a tour with somebody from another country. I got in a kayak with a Bahamian, and his other 2 helpers were also Bahamians. And they worked their butts off to make sure that we had the most beautiful, wonderful experience in their country. It was about 4 hours, included lunch and everything. For $90 I paid on the ship. When the guy told me they get $30 from each of that $90, I cried. I cried. And I ended up paying him another $100, and I gave each of them a $30 tip, which is all the cash that I had, because that tour was worth way more than $90. And we cannot undersell our Caymanian people, their experiences, their knowledge, their culture. We cannot sell that for less than what it's worth.
And from what I understand now, like currently a tour, if the cruise sells a tour, 40% of that goes to the tour operators on island. But the other thing to remember with that, which I think is because I heard somebody say it on one of your shows last week, that they were like, oh, I prefer to book it through the cruise thing because it offers me, the surety that if something is delayed, that they're talking with the cruise line, so I know that, like, I don't have to worry about like missing my opportunity to get back on the boat, or if something happens. But And that's fair. That's fair. Nobody's saying that the cruise lines can't sell the tours, but I don't think that they should be taking 60% of the profit for that. I think it could be more like a 5 to 10% that they take off the top. But the other thing to remember is that the tour operators on island are the ones that are taking 100% of the liability for that tour. So they're the ones that have to buy the indemnity and insurance for that tour. So, and I've known as well too, like 10 years ago, I dated a guy who worked at one of the dive shops, and they operated for Carnival. And I know that Carnival came to them and said, we want a Stingray City tour, but we only want to pay $12 a person. Now, this was 10 years ago. I don't know what the price is now, but but he said that they were saying they only wanted to pay $12 for it. And the dive company was like, we can't afford that. It has to be 15. And so Carnival said, no worries, we'll shop around. And they shopped around and couldn't find anybody that would do it for $12. So they came back. They came back to the dive shop. But I think 10 years ago, $15 for a tour that then they tack on, like 60% on top of that. I think that's quite ridiculous to think that how we're underselling our product. We should be selling it for a premium.
So when people talk about CPR is anti-cruise and anti-cruise tourism and anti-cruise passengers, we're not. We are for a sustainable model that puts Cayman and Caymanians first and doesn't cost us an arm and a leg to do it. It's not worth it for us to spend hundreds of millions of dollars for Caymanians to get $5 a head or $10 a head. We would have to be crazy to accept that.
All right, let's read a few more comments. Phone lines are open, 936-2626. Johan says the government will be spending money from the public purse to promote the yes vote, but there will be no corresponding access to public cash for campaigners to promote the no vote for any of the questions. In addition, the law does not address the issue of unknown special interests, which would include cruise lines spending as much money as they can to back a yes vote. Local environmental activists and grassroots movements are desperately concerned about the cruise birthing vote and then it kind of got cut off there. Miss Elard Miles says, thanks for the hard work and personal sacrifice your group has taken to advocate and educate us on moving forward judicially when government refuses to listen to the people. Can you consider submitting a judicial review to get a grand court ruling to make this a people-initiated referendum? Government seems to have taken your effort, but just now testing the waters by making it a non-binding result, which it seems to be a waste of time and money if government doesn't have to obey the vote. So I don't think that you can take a government-initiated referendum and make it a people-initiated referendum. There is a specific process of how you get to a people-initiated referendum. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we did. That was the petition. So getting those
Right.
25% of the voting electorate signatures. And then even that took another verification process that took 3 months. So, I mean, we're talking about like, it took us from starting September 2018 to June 2019 to get 25% of the electorate to sign.
Because we actually had to educate them on what a people-initiated referendum was. They had no idea what this was.
Yeah.
So we had to educate as we went and explain to them, this does not mean you're voting yes or no. This does not mean you want or you don't want the peers. This just gives you the opportunity in time to have the vote to be able to do that.
Okay. We do have a caller on the line, so let's get to this caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I appreciate people coming on the station or coming on the show and talking about the issue. I think that with the lack of information that is actually available about what's going to happen, I think that for both sides of the coin, whether you're in favor of this or not, I think it's good that the discussion is being held. One thing I will say is whether, and conversation's good when you're talking about like the price of the tour and things of that nature, but I think people are kind of forgetting, and even if you're pro cruise or not pro cruise or however you want to look at the issue, the government isn't actually giving you any details about what they are going to do. You're essentially cutting them a blank check to do whatever the hell they want, because there's no information, there's no details, there's no planning. It's all, do want to continue? And then the vagueness of the question, do you support cruise? Well, I think most people do. Like, if everybody knows somebody or has a family member or, you know, that's involved in this industry in one way or another. And to blanket the statement of, do you support cruise and cargo? I mean, it's them hiding, because if they ask the question straight up, they get a no. So they have to cover it in this illusion of, well, if you say no, then people are going to lose their livelihoods, it's going to be shut down. Even if you're pro-peer, even if you think that that's the way to go, the way that they're asking the question, you don't even know what you're saying yes to. It's like, here's a mystery box. It's going to cost you somewhere between $1 and $5 billion. Would you like it? And we'll send you the bill later. Don't ask any questions, but you have to decide right now. So if you again, I understand the want to vote yes. If that's your ultimate wish, is to have the pier and to have expanded facilities, and I mean, a lot of people in theory think, you know what, that might be a good idea. But what are you saying yes to? Because if they say yes to this, and it's the same, group of stooges that get in next time, they're going to take that yes and do whatever they want with it. If they get a no, yes, it's non-binding, but there's been some sort of parameter set that to make sure that we do this somehow the right way, as opposed to just bulldozing through as they do with most decisions. Just like they managed to put this on the ballot somehow in its vague nature. If they do get a yes out of this, it's a blank check, and they're going to take it as a mandate to do whatever they want, whenever they want to do it, specifically on this issue. Whereas if it's a no, I think it does put some guardrails on it. However thin and poorly anchored those guardrails are, I think it provides even the people that are pro-port or pro-cruise or whatever you want to call it, the opportunity to ask more questions about what they're saying yes to. Because yes, you're a dive shop, you're a tour operator, you've got a shop that thrives on the tourism. But if that port or whatever it is that they build, if they write a check that your 5 generations from now are still trying to pay off to the Chinese government because they were the lowest bidder, why is that any good? Why do you want that? I just think I just think there's so many holes in this proposal, if you want to call it that I understand why people vote yes. I personally wouldn't if they put that question in front of me and they're going to put it in front of everybody on the election ballot. I don't know how you can say yes. What are you saying yes to?
All right.
The default answer is no. I don't know what you're asking.
All right. Thank you so much.
To the caller's point on the question on the referendum, it is that for me is a very, very scary question, because it says, should the Cayman Islands invest in cruise berthing infrastructure? Basically, if they get a yes vote and that's what the government wants, they can sell out these 3 Cayman Islands, any part of it they want, including the North Sound, which has our biggest attraction,
Good morning.
to the highest bidder. And the cruise industry alone has billions of dollars, and their investors have billions of dollars. So they could buy anything they want here and do anything they want with. Our people need to pay attention and scrutinize this very, very carefully. The referendum question does not say, should we have a cruise berthing facility in Georgetown Harbor?
Yeah.
Should we have a cruise berthing facility in Breakers? It says, should the Cayman Islands
Develop.
That means Cayman Brac and Little Cayman
And
any part of Cayman that they want, they can do anything they want and call it cruise berthing infrastructure. That for me is very, very scary.
And I think the other point that the caller made about, if it's a yes vote, it's a blank check. In 2019, the proposal was CI $400 million that the facility was going to cost. And no government capital works project has ever come in at what it was proposed at. Like, look at every single. So, I mean, we're talking like sometimes double, sometimes triple the price that
On land.
Yeah. So, and this was going to be the largest capital works project that if it had gone through in 2019. So, if we're talking like double, we're talking $800 million on a cruise birthing facility that we're not even sure if it is in our best interest. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points the caller made. It is a very scary question to have it so open-ended.
And on another
Right.
note, our capital works projects go way overboard on projects on land. When you're talking about building something in the sea, that any kind of weather system can come up within a day or 2 days or whatever. If we have, I mean, I don't know if people think that a crane is going to be on land and it just goes over the ocean and puts the piers in or whatever. We're going to have barges, huge barges full of equipment, supplies, machinery, and people to try to build these piers. That's not going to happen overnight. Suppose a nor'wester blows up like what we had in February, actually yesterday, a year ago. If there was any kind of work going on piers in that harbor, where would those all of those barges and equipment and machinery and stuff go? And how long would it take them to uproot everything and get out of there? Or they might end up by the post office or up in Ugland House or something.
All right, let's read some more comments.
Those are things that will be added to the cost and the time it takes to build the piers when you got to stop and start, stop and start, stop and start.
All right, let's read some more comments. Some people are calling me in my personal line. Please remember the show number is 936-2626. So ACT K-Man says, please ask them to provide the wording on the document they had people sign to trigger the people-initiated referendum. Does anybody have that handy?
Yes,
I don't have it handy.
No, I do. I do. Please forgive me because I might miss some of the words. But the question was the proposed cruise birthing facility should the proposed cruise birthing facility, a matter of national importance, be decided solely by referendum?
Okay.
We don't have the document actually in front of us, but sure somebody.
I'm 95% sure. Like I said, some of the words might be slightly different, but I'm
right. So the question was whether it should be decided by referendum as opposed to what else you're thinking. How else should it be decided?
I'm not sure what they're getting at. I assume that they're trying to say something about that we were talking about a specific proposal. Then I'm not sure. Because that was our what our petition said. So it said should the matter of cruise birthing facility, a matter of national importance, be decided solely by referendum, yes or no? And then that was when people said yes, it should be. And then the question then became in the referendum law in 2019 was should the Cayman Islands develop a cruise birthing facility and cargo port in Georgetown?
Okay. We've got another call in the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. Is that me?
Yes, ma'am. Morning.
Yes, morning to you and morning to your guests.
Good morning.
I'm listening to the conversation and I'm just blown away by some of what I'm hearing. This is my opinion, and let me tell you, I don't work with government, and I can speak freely and say whatever I have to say. I don't understand why every time it is something that will benefit most of the Cayman Islands, that there is somebody or some group have to come out tearing it down. It was the same thing when they wanted to build Health City. It was the same thing when they wanted to build the Ritz-Carlton. It is always some group want to tear it down. I personally, one of the ladies just said that she have a small business and she don't do the cruise tourism. Well, I am a 60-year-old Caymanian that have 3 family members in the tourism business that make a living off the tourism business. And me, for one, and most of my family, if not all of my family, from East End to Georgetown, is very much in for the port. Whether it is built in Georgetown or whether it's built in East End, they need a port because we that travel and do cruises all over the world, people that do that know the value of the piers, know the value of the piers. And let me tell you, Cayman is going to be left behind. I hope one and all of them see what is going on with Trump, and Cayman is even going to feel the pinch worse than what they're feeling it now. A lot of them people that are talking and blowing and going, a lot of them do not know the people that are out there right now, sleeping in their cars, the homeless, what is exactly is going on. There is people that is trying when it comes to the cruise tourism. All I have to say is that we need the piers, and I will advocate for everyone that can vote yes for it to vote yes for it.
Let me ask you one question, caller. What do you say to the critics who say, look at these jurisdictions who did the pier and it's not financially benefiting them? Because obviously your argument is a financial one. You're saying we need it because that's our livelihood. People need more money. They need more people in order to get more money. But there have been jurisdictions that have built the piers and the result has not been more money. It's just been...
Sandra, all of a lot of that is rhetoric. A lot of it is rhetoric about the piers did not have not benefit them.
Okay.
A lot of it.
We need to give some facts and some numbers here, because if you're saying it's rhetoric, that means that you don't believe it's based on any numbers.
I'm not going to say all of it, but a lot of it is untrue.
All right.
A lot of it.
Shirley and Michelle, thank you so much, caller. We appreciate the contribution.
Thank you, Ms. Sandra.
Yes, ma'am. Do you guys have any figures when it comes to places where cruise tourism or the countries have actually built a port to demonstrate that hasn't benefited them?
One second, Sandy, before we get to that question, I would just like to clear up one issue that the caller mentioned. I did not say I don't work with the cruise lines or do cruise tourism. I support cruise tourism. And yes, I am a 65-year-old Caymanian tour operator, and I work in both the cruise and the stayover sector. So I'm not against cruise tourism. I said I do not work with the cruise lines, in other words, barter with them as to what I'm going to charge and what I'm going to get out of my tour and what they're going to get. My tourists are booked direct with me. I only have one van. There's only me. And there are a lot of other operators out there that can tell you almost on a daily basis, I refer other guests to them because I cannot accommodate them.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that point of clarification.
And I do think the other thing to say with the caller is we are not anti-cruise tourism. We are not anti-tourism. That is not our argument. Our argument is that this is a huge capital works project that is going to have a ripple effect across the whole of the Cayman Islands, and how our government governs and how the amount of money that they have in the pot to deal with other things, other national issues. Don't forget too, the other thing is that now, mind you, there is no proposal with this particular question, but the 2019 proposal had 15 to 22 acres of coral reef being damaged, which was going to have a net loss of $25 million in lost tours, because that is the most widely used dive and snorkel destination. So while we might be making the argument that some people are like, I feel like this argument centers around the cruise lines are telling us this, right? And I think we've missed the point here in having the conversation is that cruise lines are telling us what they want instead of us telling us what we want. And I know a lot of the argument is that they've said that they're going to stop coming and whatever. And I know that Royal Caribbean and Carnival have declined their visits, but actually higher net worth tours like Celebrity, Disney, MCS Cruises, and Norwegian, and the latest Economic and Statistics Office thing they've actually all increased their visits. So Celebrity went from 6.8% 2 years prior to COVID, and after they're at 16.1%. So we can design this to have the cruise ships, to have like the higher net worth cruise ships. And like Shirley said, we have a premium on this. We charge more for a better tour, a smaller tour. Like if you're a high net worth individual, are you going to want to go on one of these cruises that has these, like mega things where you just feel like you're being cattle wrangled onto the shore? No, you want to go on something more bespoke and curated. And I think that's what we're trying to advocate for, is that we have this bespoke, curated, premium experience that can benefit both the people coming off the cruises as well as the cruise operators. And I don't think that that's an impossible task for us to work towards. And I'm not saying that I have the perfect answer, right? I know that this is a very nuanced argument and it's very emotional. And I understand how the people that are advocating for the ProPeer feel. I understand that must be a very scary thing to not only be worried about your income, but about the ownership of a business in the Cayman Islands. And as we're losing so much Cayman ownership as it is, I understand why we want to hold on to it. But I don't think neither Shirley or anybody in CPR is advocating to be against cruise tourism. We're just saying, let us make it a premium luxury experience that doesn't necessarily need to be a huge capital works project for the piers.
And I will also say that two of the members of ACT have actually told me if this doesn't work out for them, they can pick up and leave. Where are we going to go if it doesn't work out for us? Where are we going to go?
All right. We've got over 500 people on the live stream and 2 callers on the line. Let's go ahead and take the first caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. That would
morning,
be.
Sandy. Can you?
Yeah, that's the minister was first. Just 1 second, please.
Hi.
Yes, thank you so much.
Good morning, Sandra, and
morning.
Good morning to your 2 guests. This is Minister Brian. I want to say thank you to them for coming on. And before I make my comments, I just want to say I respect both ladies tremendously. Obviously, like the last comment made, this is a very sensitive and emotive topic. And the country has a serious decision to make, one that I think will affect thousands of lives. I think we all know that. What I would like to potentially put a challenge to us all is to let's make these decisions not in isolated shows, even though CMR does an amazing job getting the information out. But what happens is one side hears this thing, somebody's driving in the car, and they don't get to hear the other side. I've always advocated for having a roundtable discussion or potentially a moderator and letting both sides hear all the angles so the country can hear all the details, because there's so many things that were said this morning that are simply not factual. And vice versa, those who are against the pier, like the 2 members on now, would say things that the government or ACT would say is not factual. And I've offered these both the ladies on there to come to the table with both sides, those for and those against, to sit down and discuss these things. Many reasons why they said they wouldn't accept that, totally understandable. But there needs to be a public debate, and I'm happy as minister to use CMR at a public debate where your listeners can hear and have a neutral moderator, someone like Tammy Suleiman or even yourself, Sandra. I think it'd be good for you to hear it, but have a neutral moderator like Tammy Solomon or somebody else who can sit there and allow both sides to debate this issue so the public can hear all the facts and also have a separate table for fact-checking details, because stuff like the question about other jurisdictions who have put money in and lost it, there's details around that needs to be explained, because it's not, for one, most cases is not factual, and in the other cases, the country wouldn't be at risk because the cruise lines themselves paid for it. So that we can have a situation where the Cayman taxpayer dollar don't spend 1 cent for a project development. So when they throw out figures like $300 million, $200 million, you can contract it if you're a smart government to make them pay for it. Make them pay for it, and then they would have to bring cruise passengers here. So that's just an example. I don't want to take up the whole show.
Yes, and let me just address your first point, Minister, because as you are aware, we did try to facilitate a roundtable discussion. However, a number of parties said that unfortunately, after the ACT group came on by themselves, they felt like the conversation, if all parties were on the same show, would denigrate into no one really being able to speak and hear each other, and people be speaking over each other and that sort of thing. So the alternative to that, we can still have, both sides. It's just that they're not going to be in the same quote unquote room together debating it per se. But both sides have now, as of today, had an opportunity to come on and to state what their position is, what their concerns are. And I think the listeners can certainly listen to multiple shows at different times, obviously, and hopefully, from that come to their own conclusions.
Well, you're right that there is that possibility, but then it would be in isolation. People may miss one side and miss the other side. And it's important to hear both things at the same time. And the one point that we didn't highlight there.
Don't forget, Minister, you never miss anything on CMR because you can go back and watch it.
That's very true. So I encourage persons to go back and listen to when ACT was on as well. But the other part is a neutral fact-checking component of a debate, because obviously people will have biases. Like the ACT group will have their bias because they want it, and the CPR group don't want it. So they will have a bias as well. And you need to have a trusted neutral party. And I've tried to do that from the inception. I've asked the CPR group to come on board, help us navigate this discussion so that people can have a true will. And for a number of reasons, and they can explain themselves why they weren't a part of it. And I think it's also important that you highlight that the reason we didn't have the roundtable on your show was because the CPR group refused to come on and sustainability refused to come on. It's not those people who are in support of it were willing to stand up on their merit, on their facts, to challenge them, and they refused to come. And it's a signal of something. And I'll leave that to the people to think about. But again, here's another challenge today in a public domain so everybody can hear all sides. I challenge them to come about the merits, the facts about this, because this is too serious of an issue to play games with it separate corners. The country needs to hear the whole truth. But I think the country is already starting to find out the full truth. And again, I say that, and I'm going to close now with respect to the two ladies on, because I know them well. And I believe they're coming from a good place and they're good Caymanians. So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We do have another caller in the line, and then we'll get to some comments in the messaging. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Shirley. This is Troy Leacock.
Hi, Troy. Morning.
I want to say good morning to the guests. And thank you for taking my call. I'd like to make a couple of comments, but I'd like to start by saying that the project that was proposed by the last government in 2018-19, I was very much a supporter. I wasn't a part of CPR, but I was very much a supporter of the People's Initiated Referendum. I had grave concerns about that project as it was presented, and I spoke out very strongly and very publicly challenging the project as it was designed. So now I have a particular perspective on what I believe the role of a referendum is. So obviously that referendum didn't happen. And again, that's something that many people don't understand, because many people say, we already said no to this. The country has never said no to it. And I don't know in the end how I would have voted. I certainly was a part of the vote no at the time because of the concerns I had. But I don't know how I would have voted come the day because more information was being revealed. But the by the by is that referendum did not happen. So the people have never had their say. Now we fast forward 5 years, and like it or not, we have a referendum. The bill was passed, okay? So what I'd like to speak to now is this concept of voting yes gives a blank check to the government. And I wouldn't say the government, the next government, which we don't know what that government will be. It certainly won't be the government that's in now, right? It will be a different government. So this idea, which keeps getting repeated over and over and over and over, that we're giving government a blank check, that they can put 3 piers in 3 islands, that they can spend $800 million, that they can do this and do that. Let's just think through this for a second, right? Now, the next government decides they're going to do a project. What happened to the last government? The last government designed a project and they brought it out to public meetings, public consultation, and many people spoke out against it. It is illogical to think that we vote yes on April 30th, and on May 1st, we start pouring concrete. That makes no sense, right? What the next government will do, I hope, is engage with the various stakeholders, because there are some stakeholders who want it in Georgetown. There's some stakeholders who want it in West Bay. There's some stakeholders who want 3 different piers and 3 different locations in the island to give all-weather access. There are a lot of opinions and considerations that have come about from the very intelligent conversations that we have been having over certainly the last decades, but certainly since the last project. So that's the first thing. A government will engage with stakeholders. I'm confident of that. And if they don't, we're going to call them to task on that. The second thing is, let's say a plan is then prepared. That plan will have 1 pier, 2 piers. It'll have a pier in West Bay and a pier in Georgetown. It may have different alternatives, just like the East-West Arterial was route A, B, C, D. It may be plan A, B, C, D, right? So the people can then voice their opinions. They will be costed. No government can spend north of $100 million without some sort of justification and plan. So there'll be a business case that's laid out for it. And that'll have all of the stakeholders giving their information. Now, the next step. What is holding up the East-West Arterial? No, hang on. But I'm not finished.
No, I just wanted to ask one question before you continue, because I think you're laying it out very succinctly, which is great. But how do you know that this will be the process? Because there is no referendum law.
Hang on. And this is why I need to finish, okay? How do I know this will be the process? Here's why I know this is going to be the process. Because it's in law. What is holding up the East-West Arterial? The EIA, right? We absolutely, very correctly, in my opinion, are concerned about changes to the National Conservation Act. We want to make sure that things stay in place, those checks and balances, as a project moves through its steps. So the next step, let's say a government ignores the fact that everybody in the town hall meetings are saying we don't want this. And they say, we're doing this port project. What happens then? An EIA is required under law. The government doesn't have a choice in this, under law, okay? So now it has to pass an EIA. What comes after the EIA? What have we started before that is the ultimate check on government power? A people's initiated referendum. If we don't like what is proposed by the next government in relation to a cruise pier, we have the ultimate hammer. A people's initiated referendum. This idea that a yes vote no gives a blank check is not only is it a myth, quite frankly, it's either disingenuous or it's just simply not informed. But I actually believe that many people say it uninformed, but I also believe that many people say it in a disingenuous way. We have a process that allows this to go forward. The decision that we are being asked now is vote no and kill cruise, or vote yes and carry on the conversation. Leave the door open to what can we do to preserve this very, very valuable industry. I do not for 1 second believe that a yes vote gives a blank check and concrete will start being poured on May 1st. I don't. And I think it's wrong to bring that out. If you want to have proper debate, if you want to have proper process, if you want to have proper consideration for the thousands of people who do depend on crews, then you have to vote yes. But that doesn't mean you vote yes and go about your business. You go yes and then you pay attention. You have your say in the process. Vote no, in my opinion. I'm in the industry. Voting no will stop the next government politically, in my opinion, from proceeding with this. And by the time another government rolls around in 4 years, crews will be dead. So if you want to kill crews, and let me tell you something, there are many people on this island that want to kill cruise tourism. They say, yes, we support cruise tourism, but they don't actually support it. They want to kill cruise. They'd like to not have cruise passengers walking around Georgetown. In fact, there are probably people in Cayman that would like to kill tourism. So if you want to kill cruise, you vote no. If you want to give cruise a chance, you vote yes. It's as simple as that.
All right. Thank you so much, Tori. Appreciate it.
Sorry, before we go on, because he said a few things and so did the minister, but I agree with what he's saying. We do have checks and balances, and that is completely true. But the thing is, right, we don't know what government we're going to get. And if we have any kind of coalition, and the thing is, the only party right now that has said that they are not going to propose any changes should they get into the National Conservation Act is the TCCP. We haven't had an official stance from the PPM, from UPM, or from the Cayman National Party. So we don't know what people are going to do. We don't know what the new government is going to be made up of. But we do know that members of the UPM did put forward the controversial one, which took away a lot of the requirements and made every decision go to cabinet rather than being referred to by the National Conservation Committee. So I think while I agree with what he's saying, and currently I think that should we get a yes vote, if we have good governance and we have good government in, then they should be doing an EIA, and then like how he said, the next stage. But the fact is that if we do get a yes vote and we get a government in that isn't pro the Conservation Act, they might just take the same bill that was on the table on last Friday, put it back on the table, maybe with some slight revisions to it, but essentially gutting it and taking away the requirement for an EIA. And we might not get an EIA should we do it.
And
so I don't think
the things that you might rely on to have those feelings or even to come to those conclusions is when you hear representatives such as John, such as Chris Saunders get up in Parliament and say, to hell with the EIA, we don't need it for the road, just push the road through.
Yeah.
And I guess if you have enough people with that opinion and who feel that way, it's entirely possible that could happen. Scott picks up the point. He says the next government, I hope, enough said. How did that work out with the Brack School? If it's the same circus, you get the same clowns.
Sandy, look, we don't ever know what government we're going to get. I mean, my goodness, let's just think about this again. We are going to say we don't trust any government we elect, so therefore we can't do anything. I mean, and back to Michelle's point, right? This could change or that could change, but our Constitution gives us an instrument that surely, who is a national hero in my view, okay, because the first people's initiated referendum was started. I mean, that is powerful. For democracy, that's powerful. But then why are we ignoring the power of that instrument? When it was used, or almost used before, it was certainly used to slow things down and cause people to have a conversation and look at it and consider it. But now we say, oh, but that's going to be useless because this next government that's going to come in is going to be so corrupt and they're going to be, so ignoring the people and they're going to do all this and they're going to spend $800 million and they're going to, come on. It's like, it really is frustrating when we cannot have a debate about a national issue and actually just bring some logic and thinking into it. Come on. We all want what is best for Cayman. We do. Individually, I am convinced of that. We just have different ideas. We have different priorities, right? Some people do not see the faces of the people who rely on cruise and tourism to feed their children. They don't know them. They don't see them, right? As far as they're concerned, if I go work in an office or a law firm, that's fine. But you know what? There are many people that don't want to work in an office or a law firm. There are many people who actually love getting out there and talking to visitors. Right? We all
Troy, let me ask you a question.
The opportunity to pursue our livelihoods with dignity.
Let me ask you a question. If the people, I mean, we know it's a non-binding referendum, but if the people of this country go out in large numbers, say record numbers, and they vote no, what next?
Well, I politically, it's non-binding, okay? It's non-binding. So it means the next government could still say, okay, thank you for your opinion, but it's non-binding. And they could proceed on. But politically, again, let's put our thinking caps on. Politically, do you think that the next government with a resounding no vote will actually decide in the next 4 years, their first parliament as a new government, you think they're going to take up this subject and bring it back to the people? No.
I mean, who knows? Nobody, I've not met, maybe less than 1% of the population is in favor of the premier spending the kind of money she's spending for that particular black school, and yet she's doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
again, right?
You know, it's not about what the people want. I mean, and again, I challenge anybody to show me where she should feel like she has the support of the people in that project, and she is still doing it.
Sandy, do we have 5,000 people that would like to stop that school? Can we get 5,000?
Of course, but we couldn't get it. Let me be very honest with you. We couldn't get that done in the amount of time that they've already tried to break ground to rush through the project and get things done that quickly. Remember how quickly they turned around even the business case, and cabinet got it like one day, and then by the next day it was like, good, let's start breaking ground.
Well, my understanding, and I mean, I don't want to stray into all these other politics, but my understanding is that the first break in the PAC government came about, about that school, right? So there was
it came about because of the No. Let's be clear. The first break was that Wayne Pampton was saying, "I'm not going to give you $50 million, or even $30 million for school.
That's what I mean.
I'll give you 5 or 10." Right.
Right. So it was about that school.
But
right?
the people, project. Yeah, but that's information, to be quite clear, that the public would not be privy to, would know nothing about if CMR didn't even bring that to the fore, because that is happening in cabinet. So we didn't know that what was going on. I told the people this is what's part of why they want to get Wayne out, why she needs to get that premiership. If that was never even mentioned in this platform, you wouldn't know that. And the next thing you know, it shows up in the budget debate. It's in the budget. Funds are being moved around. And a couple months later, she's pushing through the business case, which doesn't support the school, by the way. Not the school, again, that she's trying to build. And bam, she's now breaking ground and already spending an extra $10 million to sort out a foundation issue. And the foundation hasn't even been built yet.
Okay, I give you that. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you believe, Sandy, if there is a resounding yes vote to the cruise referendum question, do you believe that the next government will actually have not only the political authority, let's say, vested in them by the people, but do you really think that they will just simply go out and start pouring concrete without consultations, without an EIA, without being challenged by the significant number of people in this island who are against cruise and against PAIR? Do you really think that it's going to go the way of the Kim and Brack School? I mean, straight up question, Sandy. Straight up question. Is it going to go the way of the Kim and Brack School?
Well, I think the people, there's a question mark. People don't know, because if they're not,
Sandy.
This comes back.
Didn't need an EIA. There are not 5,000 people prepared to sign a referendum against the Brack School. Come on.
Well, why didn't the Brack School need an EIA?
I don't know, but it didn't, did it?
Well,
the point that I'm making, Sandy, is how can you
when you don't have
go the way of the Brack School?
Yeah, but when you don't have projects where government projects in particular of this magnitude, right? Where you say every time
the PAIR or the cruise or the Brack School?
Both.
Okay.
And you don't say every time when you have projects like this, we will go through the exact same procedure. That's what people are saying. That if there's no
Okay, people are saying we should have a referendum for any project over 50 million?
No. People are saying that they want certainty of how the process works. That's what I believe. And I mean, certainly people.
Sandy, the process is in law. If we want to know how the process works, we ask our MPs. We go and sit in the desk of your MP and ask you, the media. There are balances, but for us, it is duplicitous.
Right.
For us to sit down and say we're going to elect the government.
So let me ask you this: why not make it binding then? Well, what is the point of making it non-binding? That confuses people.
Our law, my understanding is the law.
That's in the Constitution.
I mean, why do you think that people are making this up as they go along? Come on, we have got to educate our people in politics and civics. We need to educate them. If we expect them to call into shows and make intelligent conversations and contributions to a national debate, we need to educate them. It is a government-initiated referendum. Our Constitution says it's non-binding. A people's-initiated referendum is binding. That is the ultimate break on government plans. The ultimate, even before the next election. We cannot ignore that in this process, and it's duplicitous to do so.
I understand what you're trying to say, Troy, but
can we just wrap up with Troy, and because I do have some other comments and stuff as well. But Troy, thank you very much for those contributions. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, my dear.
I do just
it's okay. All right, my dear.
I do just want to say to his point, because he keeps reiterating like, oh, you can just go into a people's initiative referendum. It took us 9 months to get 5,000 signatures, right? It's very draining on the groups and the members of people that would be doing something like that. So I completely agree that it's a wonderful thing that we have section, I think it's 70 of the Constitution that allows that. But I don't think that, people say, oh, the people have to speak out, but it's very draining. It took us 9 months to get there. And even when we got there, it still took us another 3 months before it got verified. And then, some people have suggested that we do digital review. Digital review costs $150,000. Right. So it's quite an expensive task for the ordinary Caymanian to do and to take the government to task. Right. So I appreciate his points, but I just want to say, should this be a yes vote and we get a government that is anti the National Conservation Law? No, they're not going to pour concrete May 1st, but they might pour concrete September 1st after they've gotten the bill passed for the National Conservation Act.
And we're not saying that this government or any government has been corrupt. What we want to remind people is that there are a lot of people that have lost confidence in the past few governments, and democracy has really not prevailed in this country, proper democracy. But to that point, there are people that just don't trust the government because of what we've seen and what has been going on over.
All right, we've got two callers. Yeah, we've got two callers on the line. First one up, 927. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning to your guest.
Morning there.
A quick question, since that seemed like the topic. We want to find out regarding the Kevin Brack School, as Troy Leacock just asked the question, or was talking about the CPR, the People's Initiative Referendum. Will they be, or are they against the $50 million being spent to Kevin Brack to build a school?
Well, that isn't the issue that they were addressing. I mean, I just brought that up from the perspective of. No,
yeah, but since they're there, some public, we would like to know where they sit on it. And then because you can ask two questions, because then I want to know if they're not for it, will they, or why didn't they not do a referendum on it or get the signatures to stop the government from going forward? Since the government is trying to push the
I think it goes back to what I was just saying before you came on, is that people's initiative referendums are incredibly taxing on the people that are involved in it. It took us 9 months to collect signatures. I don't have a personal opinion on the Cayman Brack School. I'm not going to comment on my opinion.
I understand.
But the general consensus is that we are individual people that have full-time jobs, full-time lives outside of this. And it was very taxing in 2018, 2019 to gather 5,000 signatures in 9 months. And, suggesting that that is what we always have to do every time it's a lot of work for people. And yes, I agree. It's an amazing asset that we have in our Constitution, and everyone should use it should they feel strongly enough about something. But I don't think it's fair to say that CPR has to be making challenges for everything. Our group was very specific about what our referendum was about, and so I don't feel comfortable commenting on the Cayman Brac High School or any issue outside of Cruz birthing.
Okay.
Okay, I understand. So I was just trying to get it, if I could get a little opinion on where you guys sit on that, because I mean, yes, it took 9 months to get the first people's initiative referendum, but according to the comments of the port and everything now that's the main topic right now, I'm sure if people that are speaking now about the Cayman Brac School, I don't think it will probably take 9 months again to get another one going. So maybe you guys could consider after that, to do something about it, because if it's not work feasible for the whole country, then it shouldn't be there.
All right. Thank you so much, caller. Appreciate it. Next caller up. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra.
Morning there.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm not going to be able to say that I can agree with all points on either side of this debate. I disagree 100% with Mr. Troy Leacock when he stated that voting no in this, what I consider to be a sham and a scam of a referendum, means that you're anti-Cruz, because I'm another person who is going to stand and say, no, I am not anti-Cruz. I am anti in the way that it is being proposed and the lack of relevant information which is being given. We don't have any information to this question in order to make an educated decision, yes or no. We have none of that here. I mean, I think, and I don't think, I know that the Bandaloo business that saw all of the efforts put forth to have that people-initiated referendum being taken away from valid and sustainable democracy in Cayman was an act against the people of the Cayman Islands and democracy in and of the Cayman Islands. This is a result of the previous administration disallowing that people-initiated referendum from going forward. If we are going to have a government-initiated referendum, and we actually have it within our laws here, that a government-initiated referendum is not going to be binding, then I really have to wonder what is the use, because it leaves so many questions open-ended. It leaves the ability for this administration or any other future administration of government to do what they want, regardless of what the answer is at the hands of what the electorate says they want, yes and or no. Now, I would like to know this. To those who are pro in any parameter, in any part of the Cayman Islands, do you agree that if we're going to have a referendum, that it should be binding? And in the absence of it being binding, in other words, the people's voice matter and becomes law, do you want to see, regardless of the outcome, do you purport lobby folks? Do you want to see a binding referendum on this matter? Right? Because the value of a referendum is giving the power to the people. Give us the decision and make that be the deciding factor to this debate and to this question. Now, I agree with what Minister Bryan spoke to in that it would be a benefit if we could have free and fair, open debate between the groups and also the general public such as myself and or anybody else to debate this. But we do have a lack of that, not only on this question, but also within politics here in Cayman. We don't have the ability to see or engage in debate with candidates prior to an election. I do have to disagree with the ladies from Cruzport Referendum in this idea which has been put forward as a luxury that let us not forget that Cayman's tourism industry was built upon decades-old relationships between tourists who came to the Cayman Islands on cruise ships or on a plane, or came on a cruise ship and then came back on a plane. And those were middle-class folks. Those are middle-class folks who built this island's economy. And to use it as a part of the discussion that we don't want people except for the uber rich, well, that's your.
But who said?
I never said uber rich.
Who said that?
I never said that. Neither did I.
I don't know where you got that from, Jonathan.
I said luxury. That doesn't necessarily mean uber rich. I meant a premium experience. And like that means what we are offering them. That doesn't mean that is who comes. Anybody can come, but we need to be charging a premium for our product because our product is premium. I have never said anything about the type of people that we the uber rich or anything like that.
Okay. Well, I thank you for that clarification. For that clarification. Look, I don't even know if I'm going to be, this is my personal perspective on this. I don't even know what the use would be for me to vote in a referendum that is not going to have consequence in the first place. And then the absolute lack of relevant information and the open-endedness as it pertains to the question itself. What's the use? What is the use? The government is just asking, there's this discussion about a blank check, but they're asking for an answer to a question which they have not even framed properly in the first place. Okay? I certainly do not want to see a port break out in breakers. Okay? I do see the necessary need for some level of improvement to our cargo port facilities. But our ancestors figured this out long time ago. The west side of the island is the least side of the island. And out of nothing but hard-won experience and God-given common sense, that is why Hogstay Bay is the Hogstay Bay is. Okay? So, yes, it is true that in order to build a house, you have to cut down a tree. And that I speak to the, any environmental impact. Okay?
Maybe. Yeah. I tell you one thing. I tell you one thing I saw, and let me say this, Jonathan. Maybe you have to cut down a tree. Maybe you don't. I saw one of the most amazing things in Cuba on one of my trips there many, many years ago now. They had this hotel. I think it was called the Mocha Hotel. And right in the middle of the lobby is this massive, amazing tree that they actually built around the hotel, and the lobby was built around the tree so they wouldn't cut the tree down.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But
so maybe sometimes we need to think about,
you're going to get something done, you're going to have to make some kind of sacrifice. Okay? And I'm not saying this as a proponent of a cruise port berthing facility. I'm not saying it from that standpoint. I'm just pointing out the simple fact that whenever you're going to do something, something else has to, there's sacrifices involved regardless of what it will be in the future. Okay? That's the point here.
Okay.
We also need to discuss this as a people.
Yes.
Who really owns the vast majority of income from the businesses as it pertains to retail, so on and so forth? Who is really benefiting? I understand, the water sports industry, we do have a lot of Caymanians in there, right? And I agree that they should have the right to continue business. But let's look at how it's gone over the years, where Caymanians have not been protected within the water sports or within the tourism industry from being overtaken stuff everywhere, right? why do we have a situation here in Cayman, and the ladies were speaking to that point, where the people who are in the water sports industry, for instance, are not getting a fair shake? Why do we not have Minister Bryan being a bulldog,
Exactly.
an absolute bulldog in regards to any negotiations with the cruise companies, as opposed to almost coming across as an agent for them in a lot of respects? Okay, because we can speak about, or if we vote no, cruise industry is going to go away and die. That's a bold-faced lie. I think anybody with sense knows that it is used as an argument, and it is used as an emotive statement to make people think something which is untrue. I'm going to cut off now.
Yes,
but
please leave me there. Thank you so much.
Finding referendum or nothing.
All right, thank you.
That's my perspective.
All right, Jonathan, thank you so much. All right, caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Sandra.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Shirley. And how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Morning.
Not bad, not bad. Great program. Condolences to you and your whole family as well. Sandra.
Thank you very much.
2 quick questions I have. I want to know, all of the Caymanians that are out there working, some of the companies have the biggest buses, so it looks like they're getting a big lion's share. Some others just have small buses. I want to know, I'm not against investment, I'm not against advancement to any part of my country. But what I am against is seeing how Caymanians still keep being left behind. We only hear part of the story being brought to the table, and then Cabinet does something else, and you don't know anything about that. I know Lee stood up for us, and he did a great job for that, him and Catherine, and I applaud him for that. But I also want to know who really is making the money of all of the resources. Is it really Caymanians? You know, because if it is that 95% Caymanians that have all the tour buses, and all of us definitely having that money, then whatever needs to happen, we need to share the responsibility, come to a consensus, come to agreement. But if it's because of some other interest that is going to line somebody else's pocket to get what they want, and it's not going to affect people again, I say no. And I can say no again. So I want to know who really is getting money. And that, again, I see on the computer. My mother has been a tourism ambassador. My home, my little small humble home in Shed Road, is the first hotel to everybody in this island going on the Senboko or Laksa. But many people don't know that. But definitely, boys, Kangas and the Kangas put enough people in their home to make sure that they get to Jamaica for treatment. Many don't know, but I'm Central Georgetown, so I definitely know him, and he was on Shed Road in Central Georgetown, so that's where I grew up. The other question I have is that when it comes to talking about economy, tourism wasn't just the only economy that the country. It was banking. At one time, we had over 500 banks, and we were 7th, we were 5th, we were nearly 1st. We're no longer there, and we know why. We know why throughout the whole country. Tourism is a great part. We built an airport that is completely leaking if we have a small ring. Okay? That also was brought to the people, but then again, it didn't make sense when they built a lot of that stuff, because guess what? We're still getting wet. You get wet when you go outside, you get wet when you're coming inside. When it floods, you can fall down. There can be a million accidents when you're going inside and outside of the other airport. So they're doing projects all the time and saying that it's the betterment of our people, but yet we're still getting short-ended stick for all of these different projects. And I said to my God, school, we've got God is going to build a high school for 200 students, which is not going to cost $55 million. We've got the school that is on Lincoln Pearson Highway. It's also going to build an increase into a high school. It's not going to charge, it's not going to cost them $55 million or $65 million or $75 million. And as everybody has rightfully said, every capital project that government starts it never comes in on budget. It's always over budget. You know why? Because they're sitting with people that do not know how to really do their job. It's always about what's going to come out in the papers, the limelight, you know, what they're going to get from that. Not what really should happen and what's really the benefit of our country. And I'm going to start and I'm going to go there.
Okay. Thank you, my dear.
I was going on the medical trip to get my treatment. Mr. Everton Powley from West Bay, an elderly man, he was sitting in the middle of the plane. Captain Goring had to move him from the middle and lead him out with his walking stick so that he could get to the bathroom on that plane. Why? Because we charge 5, 6, 7, I believe we charge all of these extra prices now so that nobody. So when people are going up for medical treatment with crutches or whatever they are, elderly people, people like myself that take steroid injections for spinal injury, we now have to pay extra for all of that. We have failed our people. And I started my career off with the Honorable Hero, James Manoa Bodden, in tourism, aviation, and trade. My boss was Mr. Harding Watler. I loved what they did for our people. They treated us with the respect. Then Mr. Norman Bodden, those were the people. So don't tell me I don't know anything about the aviation and trade, because that's where I started. 37 years ago. And let me tell you, they made decisions that benefited our people. We're always, because of human nature, we're always not going to get it right. There's always going to be somebody that is going to tear us down or not work with us or don't really tell the truth. But the bottom line is, what we had back then, they really fought for our people. What we're getting here now, we're not fighting for our people. We're fighting for our paycheck and to line our pocket. And that, I'm not showing that at anybody. I'm just saying that as a whole, that our Canadians have been losing. So once we know that all of us Canadians are really getting the 90 or 100% capital from any of those projects, then I say then we need to sit at the table and discuss something. But I don't think that's the way it is. And we need to find those questions out along with what is going to do to our country. We see what hurricanes do to our country. We see what Northwestern does to our country. If we're going to destroy the little bit of diving that we have, a little bit of coral beds that we have, is it really a way? The other thing is we need to find every one of those people, all of those countries that have a large on their port. We need to hear from their very own president and prime minister. Although Bermuda's already laughing about us with Tim and status and got us all over the map and all over the world laughing at us. We need to hear from all of those presidents. What they've seen from them expanding those ports in their different islands into the Caribbean. Was it a good? Was it A+? Or was it B-? Or was it C? Or was it D? Let us hear the truth.
Thank you, caller. Our guests do have to.
Have a round table.
Yes.
Let's make sure all of them bring their decisions and their answers to the table, not just what everybody else wants to do. To come to Cayman and just say, oh, this is good. We hear the Chinese. We make them study in order. No, let's get all of them.
All right.
Their idea.
Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yes, thank you, my dear. We do have our guests. They do have lives. Probably need to go out there and do a tour this morning. So we want to thank them for coming onto the program. And, you know, sadly, we can't, we couldn't, and I don't know if people will change their minds after today, facilitate the roundtable discussion where all the parties are on at the same time. But obviously, some of the parties, as you can see, were able to call in and voice their opinion and put the ladies, put questions to them. You know, the opportunity for a roundtable discussion remains on the table. If the parties want to do that, we're happy to use this platform. We've consistently had close to 500 people just on the live streams alone. Of course, I know that up to 9:30, we would have also had lots of people listening on the radio. So the opportunity remains there. Perhaps they'll go away today and have a think about it. Lots of comments came into the program. Ladies, your final thoughts before we let you go.
Well, I just the minister made an accusation that we haven't said everything factual. I would like to know exactly what I haven't said that's factual, because most of what we said was about what CPR stood for, how we started, and that we are not against cruise tourism, that we actually think that we need to look at this the other way around and decide what our tourism product is going to be. The caller before, he made the comment, which went back to what I had said, that, the tour operators are only getting 40% of the value of what the crews are selling it for. If we can get our tour operators to get 90 to 95% of the value of their tour, we don't need peers to sustain cruise tourism, because the numbers are still there. Like I said earlier, and that's from the Economic Statistics Office, those numbers that I told you. Celebrity, Norwegian, Disney, MSC, those have all increased calls post-COVID, right? So, I don't think it's fair to say that just because Carnival and Royal Caribbean have come off the table, that we can't still cater to cruise tourism and still get the best deal for our cruise operators. But we need to be negotiating with cruise lines and say, no, you no longer get to take 60% of the lion's share of this tour just for selling it on the cruise. That's what we need to be doing. That's how we need to reflect this back, is that, yes, absolutely, I am for Caymanian businesses. I am for Caymanian businesses being owned and operated in the Cayman Islands. But I am not for, the lack of infrastructure that we have, the lack of funding that we have, the understanding of the funding on this, being put into debt for a massive capital works project. Look at how bad the traffic is currently, and we have less tourists than we did in 2018. What is it going to be like if we're trying to go back to 2018 levels, and on top of that, even go above that? No, we can achieve this in a different way. We just need to think about this in a different way. We are not beholden to the cruise lines. We are the product. We are the premium product, and we need to look at it that way. I'll let Shirley go.
Yeah, and I want the listeners to remember that our motto, our very motto on our coat of arms says, "He hath founded it upon the seas." And unfortunately, we seem to have forgotten where we have come from and who built this country and how they built it. And they were God-fearing people who believed in the verse in the Bible that says, "For I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind." Caymanians, don't ever underestimate that you are powerful. We have to love one another, and we have to make decisions with a sound mind that benefit all. Instead of selling ourselves out and cheapening our products and cheapening our services and going home with nothing. We have to be the major stakeholders in anything that we do here and reap the most benefits.
Well, Miss Sue Barton said to please give you a kaboom, so give me 1 second. There we go, honey child. Oh, look at you with your honey child mug.
Yeah, I got a cold hard truth.
Oh, nice. Beautiful, beautiful.
I had to put Pepsi in my coffee today to get rid of it. Trust me.
Pepsi. Well, listen, Shirley, Michelle, thank you guys so much for coming on the program. And I appreciate you switching to the phone connection, because once you did that, everything was all clear. So we really, really do appreciate your contributions this morning. And again, this is a big deal here in Cayman, this conversation. We need to continue having it. So anyone who wants to come on, by all means, reach out to me. Our ladies do have to go. I'll go a little bit further into overtime and take your calls. But yes, I wanted to thank you all. And obviously the referendum bill, as you saw on our website yesterday afternoon, has been passed. We're going to have the referendum. Just one quick question. So there are some questions about how the referendum will work. So one person asked the following question. They said, if people vote for their political candidate, but do not make any choice for the referendum question, does that spoil the ballot? So
No.
Here's the response. A person can choose to vote for either a candidate and or all or any one of the referendum questions, and the ballot will still be valid. So you can choose your candidate, and if you don't even want to vote for candidate, but you're there for the referendum issue, you can vote just on that. And if you're there for the referendum issue, but you only want to vote on one of the three issues for whatever reason, you could just vote on that one and your ballot will not be spoiled. So again, I just want to clarify that. It was a good question this morning. I think Mr. Wesley had answered it before, but to make sure that everyone is crystal clear on how this will work, it's important to know, because now the referendum does go forward. And then also there was another question in relation to the election, that if a person has no challengers, does their name still show up in the ballot? And so it says that if only one qualified candidate is nominated, then there will be no election in that electoral district. Because somebody said this to me the other day, and I said, no, I don't think they would even be on the ballot. And they said, well, yeah. No, they're not. So the person is automatically returned. There's no name on the ballot. So I can't remember who I was having that conversation with, but hopefully you're listening to it this morning. And they said only the referendum questions would be on that ballot. So say, for example, Georgetown South. That's not a good example because she's not running again. Let's say
Georgetown North.
Georgetown North.
Yeah, I think Joey's the only one running, right?
Oh, Joey. Yes.
Yeah, so far.
So say,
so
for
far,
example,
he's the only one running.
Yeah. So say by nomination day, which is March the 30th, he has no challengers. You will not go and see his name on a ballot. He's automatically returned. What you would see for Georgetown South is the referendum questions, because you can still go and vote for the referendum questions. All right. So thank you, ladies, very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Sandy.
Thank you.
All right, my dear. Don't be shy. Come back again.
We will.
We love to have guests on the program. So so that's where we are, and that's how the process works. I was having that conversation with someone. I honestly can't remember who that was. Anyway, it'll probably come to me. And so, but hopefully they're listening this morning. They'll get the answer to that anyway. Because I said, no, I don't think so. Because I remember we asked him that question when he was here. But, so many guests sometimes, and questions and information, I can't always swear by something. I'm like, let me think about that. Okay, so we like to clarify, because we do want to operate in facts whenever possible. So that is the position. Right. So anything else that's on your minds this morning? Again, the referendum has passed, and so it will be showing up. Oops, let me take away my little doggy. Oh, sorry. Oh, isn't he the cutest little thing? My apologies. I didn't mean to put that up though. But so I wanted to actually tell you guys the story before the week is out. Let me update you on something that is actually quite important. We're still on air. So if you're trying to call the show, call the show number. Right. So just one quick thing here. Remember 2 days ago, I was telling you guys about this really, really important topic, which, well, not really, but it was a feel-good story, in fact, where this dog had been reunited with the owner. Remember this dog? Remember this story? The dog went missing. Somebody found it. Miss Grace Ann Atkinson found this lovely little dog, and she did this nice post saying, thanks, Sandy. Samson has been returned to his owner. And, she's like, she's not a dog lover, but now she's thinking about, adopting a dog because he's such a lovely little dog. And she had him for like a day or two and just grew to love him. Dogs can have that impact on you. And so this story had an unusual twist. And I thought I would update you all on this because, wow, it just demonstrates how Cayman can be so bizarre at times. So anyway, day before yesterday, I was, after the show, I received a phone call and someone said, hey, Miss Sandy, my employer gave me your number, said to call you because I've got a situation here. And I said, oh gosh, what's going on? He said, that dog that you posted, Samson, that you say was reunited with the owner? And I said, yep. Oh my gosh, the owner was so happy that somebody found the dog. They said, hold on a second. I'm the owner of that dog. And I said, what? Yeah, I'm the owner of the dog. That dog apparently went missing months ago, and little Samson went missing. Evidently, we posted it when he first went missing, but we get so many dog posts that, let me tell you something, I don't always remember who's missing, what's missing, what, it's a lot because y'all lose things a lot. So anyway, Samson has been on our page as missing apparently for months. The person who says he is the legitimate owner now comes back and says, that's my dog that somebody else is claiming they lost recently. and want back and has been reunited with. Then he does some digging, speaks to Miss Grace Ann about, who collected the dog. And I said to him, hold on a second. Where do you live? Come to find out they live in the same neighborhood, basically, in West Bay. I was like, this is no coincidence. Samson has two families? Is this like one of those cartoons where Samson is going to both families to get a belly full of food? No. Apparently, the allegation is his ex-helper's husband stole Samson and has been having this dog napped in their house for all of these months. And somehow little Samson got away, probably trying to get back home to his original owners. And the guy sent videos of Samson playing with their other dog, playing with the cat, playing with his mother-in-law, the kid, all the evidence, lots of pictures. I mean, they seem to really love the dog. And so they're shocked to now see that somebody else is claiming that this is their beloved dog. Well, honey child, I guess Samson will be going back to his original home if he hasn't already, because he said, yep, he'll be rolling up on them in the same neighborhood and taking his dog back. Folks, let me give you a little bit of advice about dogs. People will steal dogs for different reasons. Yes. Sometimes people steal dogs because, I don't know. I don't know why y'all steal dogs. That's like stealing somebody's kid. Like you want the responsibility of stealing a dog? But if you do, don't do it. That's all I can tell you. No, don't do it. Don't do it. But anyway, as an owner, you have an obligation to keep your dogs safe. These small dogs really shouldn't be outside. I don't think any dog should be outside. That's my humble opinion. They can't even take the heat, poor thing. Okay? Keep them inside on the porch, a shaded area. Get your dogs microchipped. So I think that that's important, to get your dogs microchipped. In addition to getting your dogs microchipped, they also have the air tag, right? Where you can, sometimes dogs run out the front door and they take off. If you have an air tag on your dog, you can track them down. So please get your dogs air tagged as well. They have the collars now. They make the collars. You can get them on Amazon that has a little space for the air tag in the collar. So, get that done. Mr. Billy, are you trying to call the show? Because I'm still on air.
Yeah.
Isn't
this the number?
No, the show number is 936-2626.
936-2626?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is one I had for sure. Okay, but 93.
All right, 936-2626. That's the show number. I figured he might have been, he's called my number, personal number, but I figured he might have been calling the show. All right. So anyway, yes, try to take, better care of your dogs. Jim says plenty of fresh water and GPS collars. Yeah, they have them. You just get an air tag and you put it in the collar now and you're good to go and you can keep track of your dogs. Boy, Samson has been on an adventure. And also spade and neuter your dogs, because some people will steal dogs. I used to have that with Coco all the time. Total strangers would walk up to me and say, oh, she's such a beautiful dog. Is she fixed? I'm like, yes, because they'll steal your dog to get puppies and make money off your puppies. So I always made sure people knew she was fixed, honey child. Y'all not going to be breeding her with no mongrel. I'm just saying. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons why some dogs become, a commodity. So Darlene says Samson is a real king. Boy, I tell you. What a hot mess. All right. Shall we wait for Mr. Billy to call us? I'll give him a few minutes. Thank you, Paula. Appreciate the condolences. So air tags, you can get them on Amazon. It is a Apple product. I don't know if anyone in Cayman sells air tags. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure how easy they are to get here. I buy them by the pack. So normally they come you can buy them in a pack of 4. And yeah, you can use them for all sorts of stuff. Honey child, you can put them on wallets now. They have, a section of your wallet, your handbag, drop one into your handbag. so that, you can get that. Let me think what else. How else can you get an air tag? You can put them in your suitcases. Great idea. Because when we traveled, one of our suitcases ended up somewhere else. Was that the Greece trip or the South Africa trip? I can't remember. I think it was Greece. It was Greece. No, was it Greece? I can't remember. One of the trips, one of our suitcases got left at the airport. No, that was actually South Africa. That was Africa, was it? Anyway, I can't remember. But anyway, we were able to track it. Like it was still in Atlanta. So that would have been South Africa. It was at Greece. Oh my God, I can't honestly remember. No, Atlanta was South Africa? Yeah, I think it was South. Anyway, listen, we could see it going across the globe as it started to travel. Yeah. So, it was South Africa, right, Jamila? Yeah. So yeah, stick air tags, they have them where you can put them, you just put it anywhere in your luggage. They actually have them where you can put them discreetly. So if somebody tries to steal your luggage or whatever. Anthony says you can even air tag your spouse. Well, I'm not so sure about the legalities of that, to be clear, but now your phone will tell you, because there were security issues where people were air tagging people to stalk them and stuff. So now your iPhones, because Apple had to get on it and fix that, your iPhone will tell you that there's an air tag that is tracking you in close vicinity. So my husband always sets up the air tags, and I know when he's put one like in the car or whatever, because it'll say there's an air tag in your car. All right, honey child, we got Miss Billy Adam on the phone. Good morning, Billy. How can we help you today?
Good morning. Finally
morning.
got the right number. Thank you for your
Yes,
help.
my dear.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Sandy, I've been listening into this talk about the referendum. And I go back, because we worked together from the early 2000s with the referendum that we had when Mr. Bush was trying to do some monkey stuff on the Constitution, when we had people for referendum, which PPM hung on to the backs of people for referendum and established People's Progressive Movement. And, the betrayal that has taken place on the subject of referendum to create all of this confusion is very, very sad. Because the PPM knew what good referendum legislation should look like.
Mm-hmm.
We studied it. You were part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We studied it in various jurisdictions, various countries, good referendum versus bad referendum law.
Mm.
And they couldn't have chosen a more bad format than what they did. But even more betrayal than that, they put it in the Constitution in the way that they put it in the Constitution. Not enough time to go in on your show today about it. But all this confusion and the way it has been created is denying the public to have mechanisms in which the public can express their feelings on different subjects on a regular, consistent basis every time you have an election. For every 4 years, or you could have it every 2 years. There are some jurisdictions, for instance, let's take Switzerland, which has it 3 times a year. They create an efficient process, not this cumbersome, expensive process that we have, which is designed that way to make it cumbersome so that they don't hear from the people what the people have to say. Because we have a governance system. It's not democratic. It's parliamentary, monarchical parliamentary governance is what we have. And that is not democratic. We don't choose the ultimate leader in our system. Our constitution is not a Cayman Islands people constitution. It is a constitution order issued under the authority of the Constitution, Section 125, which is an order in council, which means the king has to sign off on it. So they can change anything. Even if you have a referendum here, the king can change it. But of course, we know it's not the king. That's the deceptive part of it. Under the UK governance system, the king cannot go against what the prime minister of the day, and as Lord Hailsham calls it, elected dictatorship, is the way the English system operates. And that's what we have. So we have a governance system, election after election, in which the people, the government, fears the people. The government doesn't want to hear from the people. We know what's right for you. We will decide what's right for you. You will eat it, and you will like it. Yeah, Eril. Yeah. And that is the mentality of our governance system. I'll to the leader. I'll Hitler. And our people need to realize and acknowledge that is the system of governance we have. Once you elect them, and once you have cabinet is formed, what's it, 7 members now in cabinet? Is it 7? How many do we have in cabinet?
They've got a minority government, so I think that's about right.
No. What's the total number of people in cabinet?
Oh,
7? I forget.
Or 9. Is it 9? I think it's 9.
I don't know. They keep changing up so much. I just so fed up with them. Okay, if it's 9, so 5 people make a decision, then the other 4 have to abide by that decision. So our governance and our Cayman Islands is really ruled by 5 people because of collective responsibility. That's who really runs. Cabinet don't run. It's 5 people that have been elected run the show and control. That's why we have the Royal Cayman Islands Army, is to hold us down. Don't believe all the nonsense you hear about for hurricane. The fire service and public works still come out up to the last. You were talking about the bad northwest that we had. I went down to West Bay. By the time the regiment got down there, for the mess that was down there created with their food truck, which follows them around, the fire service and the public works had already done the cleanup work. That's only to hold us and intimidate us by creating the local army, which is a branch of the UK army. So back to that, back to referendum. What we have to look at, people, is your government. Doesn't matter who is in there. Matters not to me what color they wear. Some of them wear, every time you turn around, they're in a new government, so they got a new color, like Joseph's coat of many colors. That's what they have. They put the cover on. And that is only to fool the public. You follow a myth of the word democracy. We have a self-ocracy that has sold us out. And after administration, after to follow policy. That's why we ended up with the FFR, because they were not following the public management and finance law. They were borrowing too much money and on us. And they don't like it. No, they would like to extend it beyond the 10%. But people get familiar with run and control. 5, you let 19, you pay on average to all of them up in there. What are we getting? You end up with a government where 5 people decides what happens in this country. They want to get rid of the national conversation law because they talk about it so much. They don't believe in the about one so often. Conservation law. They want to change that and weaken it and abolish it because they want everything by discretion. And wherever you see the word discretion, replace that with the word corruption. They get paid to do certain things because they have sold us out. And they don't care about themselves. And we have been sold out. We have no development plan, no physical development plan in this country. And so, you know, Sandy, it's really sad. And the people are going to get all excited, go to all these meetings, eat all the curry goat at the various meetings that they're going to have and the big parties. They're going to be bought. Who gets the biggest fridge? Who gets the newest stove? Who gets their driveway paved? All these various things. And nobody's arrested for all the corruption that's going on in government with it. You know, none of them excite me. And none of them really want the public to participate in what's going on. And that is why all the confusion, the wording of the referendum and all that is controlled by them. Even in a people's initiated referendum, they control the wording. When the Constitution was passed in 2009, we were still active people for referendum and warned the public what they were going to what they're getting into if they voted yes. And they used the vote of the churches to get that referendum passed. And people didn't look at the fine print, didn't look at the details, because the devil is always in the details. And look at what they did. And the public was tricked into approving that Constitution. And that Constitution is where we are today. And it's not even a Constitution. It's the rules by which the UK will administer us, as Dr. Steve McFeel often reminds people. Constitution is what the people control. That's a Constitution. We don't control that document.
All right.
So let me go. I don't want to keep you on there anymore.
Yes, thank you so much.
But we need to examine these things, people. Examine them and see what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yet again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Billy. I really appreciate it. All right, my dear.
Thank you for your time.
All right, so some salient points there from Billy Adam. Of course, always has been an advocate, and he makes mention to, you know, even myself knowing certain things about the referendum, the constitutional reform, because we were in the trenches, folks. This isn't something new that you know, all of a sudden I've just become interested in because I have a talk show. We've been agitating for good governance and change for many, many years. From myself personally, from the early 2000s, I came back to Cayman in late 96 and I saw issues in my country. I took, you know, my time to try to learn about some of those issues, to get involved in what I thought was going to be a good movement at the time, the progressives on behalf of the people, and so much has changed. But what hasn't changed is that, folks, if you want change in your country, in the way that you're governed, you have got to advocate and push for that. There's no one else that's going to do that for you. And, you know, that's part of what we do here. We have dialogue, we talk, and we know that they're listening. And through the dialogue and through us pushing for better governance, for better candidates, for all these things, we're hopeful that those things can come to fruition. We have to demand more. You guys should be the ones in the driver's seat, not the other way around. So the most important thing that you can do, folks, is get involved in the democratic process. There are a lot of people who lose their lives around the world trying to fight for democracy. And I can tell you, the fact that we even have it in the sense of being able to go to the polls, you have to take it seriously. And you have to, you know, look closely at your candidates. Who do you want to vote for based on what? We did a really, really important exercise this week. If you missed that show, please go back to Wednesday's show, where we talked about the traits that we're looking for in our candidates. We're going to come back to that this upcoming week. We're going to revisit that next week, and we're going to then try to prioritize that list as much as possible, define what those things mean, because they can mean different things to different people. And we are just going to continue to go through this process, folks. This is real. This is our life. You know, you can't separate yourself from politics, not in an island this small. It has a real trickle-down effect. And let me tell you, not even in a country as big as America with millions of people, it has a real effect. So pay attention to what's happening in your community. It is interesting, and we've seen it here, where people say, we've already voted no on this. No, we've never had a referendum on this issue. What you guys did was signed a petition to trigger a people-initiated referendum. So you know, if you don't understand these nuances and real differences in how things work and what's actually happening, you're part of the problem, because you're not educating yourself. And if you don't educate yourself, you can't then make informed decisions that are in the best interest of our people, including yourselves. So I always encourage you to try to listen to all sides, do your own research in between, go out there and get information, right? One person did say that they were of the opinion that, you know, they said, please tell the minister that when he uses language like extreme environmentalist, he's not inviting a genuine conversation. So if you want people to, somebody said, please give Mr. Billy a kaboom. If you want people to engage with you, you have got to meet them at a level that they're comfortable with sometimes. And I know for many people, they say it's a motive because it's their livelihood, it's their, you know, but there are people who will not engage with you if you're there. So consider that when you're asking for these roundtable discussions. Anthony says, father and son today, Sandy, you will need 2 shows. These 2 men are well-spoken and very outspoken. Ms. Darlene says they collect all the data for people and then they put it in their own wording to benefit them and suffer our people more than they were suffering. There's a lot of comments that came in that I did not get a chance to read. So can I just do a quick rapid read of those before we end today's program? So, and of course, literally we have had, oh my gosh, let me see. I would say at least a couple hundred comments on Facebook alone. So I may not have gotten to read every single comment. So of course, I'm sure you guys will forgive me for that. ACT Cruise Tourism says here, please ask them to provide the, oh yeah, we did that one already. Thank you. Let me just untick that one. Marcus Simmons says your guest from CPR claiming that ACT is being funded by external sources. For the record, ACT is funded solely by the cruise tourism business community, the very people who depend on this industry for their livelihoods. But while we're talking about funding, perhaps CPR should be transparent about who was or is funding them. In 2019, they pushed for referendum and cruise berthing, arguing that people deserved, here's a refined response that includes more details while keeping it sharp, and then unfortunately got cut off. Naomi said France and Norway joined Italy, Greece, Spain, Croatia, the US, Netherlands to ban or restrict cruise ships while protecting heritage and combating over-tourism in cities like Venice, Barcelona, Dubrovnik. Okay, might not got that one. In Amsterdam and more, Travel and Tour World. In fact, we saw one that we published the other day. It was it the Vatican? Where they're getting too many tourists and it's like destroying the site. And so now they've restricted it as well. Miss Monique Hamady Simmons says, respectfully, I ask what is wrong with the stakeholders in business supporting the marketing and support for Yes Vote for Tourism, which is essentially protecting their livelihood. This issue is hurting the lives of many citizens of this country. And if they say yes for progress, then what is the issue? While you're right that the cruise lines have accountability to their shareholders, this is the same thing for every business owner. Do you think all the Caymanians who are fighting for this, and then unfortunately, there's only so much space there. Anthony says the words Ms. Shirley just used clears up a lot. We're not anti-cruise. I thought they were. From what I understand, them saying they want better economic value for the cruise. Did CPR even rally or went to the cruise to get more benefits for the vendors? So I didn't get to read this question to them, but what I would say in relation to this, and unfortunately, we're not going to take any more calls because I do have to end the show. So I'm just trying to get to the comments that we didn't have an opportunity to get to. But what I would say in relation to this, to be quite frank and honest, is that I'm supposing they would respond that that isn't what CPR is about. It's cruise for tourism, cruise for referendum, right? So they're concerned kind of singularly with the referendum process. So based on what they explained to us, they're not a group that's going to go out there and advocate that cruise ships do whatever. Maybe that's some other group. I mean, I don't know who that would be. Maybe the government should be the ones doing that. ACT says, can they provide their environmental assessment on the present state of affairs with tenders? Monique goes on to say, Shirley/Michelle, this is a free market system, and anyone in business knows when you negotiate with any company, you have to do what works for your company. If it doesn't work, then you don't do it. Normal business practice. Oh, excuse me. It's no different from a private company selling to Costco or Amazon. You decide if it works for your business. So please stop acting like CPR is trying to protect businesses. Caymanian businesses want this. Maybe Shirley's business is fine without it, and that's unique. And then that got cut off. Johan says, Anthony, CIG reps and ACT reps are best placed to engage in these discussions, and the Cayman-based stakeholders need a great sense of unity in order to negotiate better rates/packages/returns with the cruise lines, etc. I'm sure CPR would aim to assist, but the key stakeholders need to drive the bus on this matter. Hashtag, I want all Caymanians to win. Okay. Valeska, good morning, says the government is pushing for this for Caymanians that ultimately will gridlock them because industries consider it as a joke and not a career. Caymanians are being abused. Fix that first because we are tired. Dee says, not sure how many have seen the videos that come out of Rotan where they're building, when they were building, what the conditions of the water and smell, not to mention how much fish were meaninglessly killed. Mellow Fellow, good morning, says, please ask Mr. Brian what led him to change his, what led to his change of opinion on the port. Denver says, thank you. The cruise lines will be paying for the piers and responsible for cruise ships calling while our government controls the number if ships are visiting daily. And to be clear, Denver, I understand the position is how we would be paying for it is that we'd be paying for it by increase fees on the per head person. You know, every person that comes off of just like the airline ticket that you buy, there's an associated airport tax. So the cruise port tax, my understanding is that's how we pay for it. So we tax per person. Now that means that which I've heard we haven't had an increase in some time, but that means that the price of their tour goes up. And how does, my question, just out of curiosity, is how does that impact someone who wants to book a tour? So, you know, if the prices, which people are saying the prices are rock bottom, $500, you can get a week tour or whatever. They keep getting cheaper because they're building bigger ships and they're putting more people in the ships. And I guess the more people and the more they do that kind of sardine, putting them all together kind of thing, that, you know, reduces expenses on the one hand. But then does it matter to people that the fees are going up because the taxes that governments have to levy goes directly to the individuals who were visiting? And I mean, I don't know. That's just a question that I have, because I understand Denver, that that's how it would be funded. That's the model and how it would be paid for. Marcus says, Johan, I appreciate the clarification and I agree that facts do matter. I did mean to say higher courts of appeal, and while the case did not reach the Privy Council, CPR did pursue legal challenges to the referendum process as lost on appeal at the higher court. So their efforts ultimately did not succeed in stopping the project from moving forward at the time. On the broader point, but was that the legal question? Was it trying to stop the project? I don't actually think it was, with all due respect, Marcus. I think the legal questions were in relation to how referendums should be structured and funding around referendums generally that they wanted the court to rule on. And then he goes on to say that on the broader point, I absolutely agree that any major project should be based on data, facts, and transparency. All right. So again, if your question was missed, my apologies. Darlene says, Sandy, we need a big pre-election wake-up party. As in a political party or just a party? All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. And I do encourage all sides, whether you call in, you write into the program, you come on the show, come with your facts. We always say on here, class in unison, triple D. What does triple D stand for? Data-driven decisions. That means you got to have the facts and figures, and you got to come with that. Lead with that first. Opinions are fine. Everybody has an opinion, just like you have a banquet. That's okay. You can have an opinion, but please come with your facts. Come with your double D's. That's how you lead, honey child. All right. Thank you guys so much. It's Dubrovnik. Thank you so much for the phonetic pronunciation of that city, I guess. All right. Thank you guys very much. This person said, hey, Sandra, I hope all is well with you and your family. I think you have one of the best shows worldwide. Please don't change and keep it up. Oh, my gosh. Little heart emoji. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for continuing to tune in and obviously make this, the best show. All right. So lots of political stuff going on, honey child. Okay. All right. That's it. It's weekend. The weekend is here. Friday, as I do every weekend, I'm begging y'all to please be, careful on the roadways. Use caution when you're out there. Do your best to be a good, sensible driver. Look out for other people, pedestrians, cyclists. They matter too on the roadway. And I wish you all just an amazing weekend that is full of fun, but safety first. So thank you, Miss Darlene, and everybody else that has tuned in to the program today. And have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.